You've seen this story a million times, right? A star running back, an absolute stud, has a monster season. He carries his team, looks totally unstoppable. And then the next year, poof, he just vanishes. It's what people call the workhorse hangover. And today, we're going to dig into exactly why it happens, using a story that feels all too familiar.
So let's picture this, a not-so-distant season where Saquon Barkley just goes nuclear for the Philadelphia Eagles. He literally puts the offense on his back and he racks up an insane 2,500 rushing yards. It's a massive, league-leading season, the kind of year that puts you in the history books. He is, without a doubt, at the absolute peak of his powers. Okay, so you'd expect a guy like that to roll into the next season and just keep that dominance going, yeah? Build on that historic success. But, well, that's not what happened. It's not even close to what happened.
The drop-off was absolutely stunning. And it wasn't just about his total yards. It was his pure effectiveness. His yards per attempt, his whole reason for being, just plummeted by a staggering 45%. All those explosive, game-changing plays, gone. Instead, you had a player who just looked worn down, a shadow of the guy he was just a year before.
So what gives? Was Barkley just a really unlucky one-off? Or is his story just the latest chapter in a really, really old book? To figure that out, we've got to look back at the history of the running back position itself. And when we zoom out, you see that what happened to Saquon isn't new at all. In fact, it's a well-trodden and kind of tragic path for some of the league's most productive backs.
Let me introduce you to Larry Johnson. Back in 2006, he set this grueling NFL record with 416 carries. The Chiefs just rode him into the ground. And the very next year, his body just broke. He only played in half the games, his production completely cratered, and he was never an elite back again. That bill for that huge season came due immediately.
Or hey, how about DeMarco Murray? In 2014, he was the king of the world for the Cowboys. He cashes in, gets a big contract with the Eagles, and then nothing. His production was less than half of what it was the year before. And yeah, a new team was part of it, but a 23% plunge in his own efficiency, that tells you the player himself was just running on empty. And this hangover doesn't always show up as just a stat drop. For a guy like Jamal Anderson, it was a career-ending ACL tear just 2 games after he carried the Falcons to a Super Bowl. For others, like James Wilder, it was less of a sudden crash and more of a slow, grinding decline, as all those hits finally just took their toll. But here's where it gets interesting. It's not an automatic death sentence. There's this small, almost mythical group of players who seem to be totally immune to this whole thing. They were the outliers, the guys who just kept on chugging. Just look at this incredible contrast. On one side, you have that typical nosedive off a cliff. And on the other, you have the legend himself, Walter Payton. After a massive season in 1984, at age 31, mind you, his total yardage barely dropped the next year. And, get this, his efficiency actually went up. He got better when he should have been getting worse. It's insane. And that's really the key difference. The all-time greats, guys like Payton, they did decline eventually. But it wasn't a sudden fall. It was a graceful degradation. They were so far above everyone else that they could afford to come down slowly, piece by piece. For pretty much everyone else, though, the drop is sudden, it's steep, and it's final.
So is this all some kind of football curse? A weird hex on anyone who dares to carry the ball too much? Nah, of course not. There are cold, hard reasons for this happening, and we're about to break them down.
First up, it's just simple math. A season with a massive number of carries is, by its very definition, an extreme outlier. And the laws of statistics tell us that the next data point is overwhelmingly likely to be closer to that player's average. It's not a curse, it's more like statistical gravity, just pulling an amazing performance back down to earth. So we can really boil this whole thing down to 3 main factors. We just talked about statistical gravity. Next up is the physical toll, something we can call the body's price. And finally, there's the coach's choice, which is all about whether a player even gets the chance to repeat. So let's talk about the body's price. Research has pointed to this kind of threshold, almost like a mileage counter on a car for a running back's career. And once a player crosses this mark of roughly 1,750 career touches, their production tends to fall off at a much, much faster rate. It's the point where all that built-up damage really starts to show up. Okay, so now that we get the history and the reasons behind it, how can we actually use this? Let's put together a practical tool, a checklist you can use to spot the warning signs that a decline might be coming. And here it is, the 6 key things to watch for. First, and this is the big one, career mileage. Have they crossed that 1750 touch danger zone? Then age. Are they 27 or older when things naturally start to slow down? How big was that huge season? Do they play through injuries? What's the team situation like? And finally, are they a true generational Hall of Fame talent or just a very good player who had a career year? And this brings us right back to where we started. Why was our hypothetical decline for Saquon Barkley so predictable? Because before the 2025 season even kicked off, he had already racked up 1,867 career touches. He would have stepped onto the field for Week 1 already deep inside that historical danger zone. His fall wasn't a surprise, it was a textbook case, predicted by the numbers. So, as teams get smarter and this data gets clearer, are we actually watching the end of the bell cow running back, that one dominant guy who carries the whole offense? The idea will always be tempting, but the evidence is just overwhelming. Their reigns are often brilliant, but they are almost always brief. What do you think? What does the future hold for the position?